talk about an offensive field day yesterday. Now, obviously, I got my prediction wrong, and I really kind of went with a really kind of bold prediction, predicting the 49ers would win a close one. Now, the 49ers obviously do not have the personnel to win a low scoring or really a close game because, well, they just don't have the talent on the defensive end. It's up to their offense. It's going to be hard for Brian Hoyer to take them all the way. However, though, you definitely got to see an offensive matchup, and this is good for both directions for the teams because if you look at it, both these teams had bad offenses last year. Now it looks like they have quite comparable offenses out there. Now a lot of people say the Rams have a great offense. Statistically, so far they are good, but look at their competition. They had the Colts, they had the 49ers last night, and they've also had the Redskins, which is basically a middle pack team, I would say. Now, let me get on to this, how I do all these analysis videos. So, I'm going to start off with the Rams because they won the game. I'm going to get out the negatives out of the way and then talk about the positives later because I want them to end on a positive note because last night was a win. And for the 49ers, they will be part two. I'm going to start with the positives, but then end with the negatives simply because since they lost, you're going to end on a negative note. I might put the times down in the description. I'm not exactly sure, but I'll probably will do that if you just want to hear the 49ers portion, the Rams portion, the positives and negatives of either side, or if you're feeling glass half full or glass half empty. Who knows? So let's talk about the Rams first. Now, when it comes to the Rams, their unit, I would say Jared Goff is doing better. He's improving. However, I don't see him really, he's not emerging as a top 10 quarterback as if the Rams are moving towards. And when it comes to Jared Goff and all that, he's been doing his job. He's been eating up these bad teams defensively, and he's been doing it really, really well. But at the same time, though, when you look at Goff, I'm really concerned with him in a close matchup because, or at least in a matchup where it's close and the balls are in his hands, specifically, obviously, because I feel as if that he's not very competitive, and I feel like this is kind of him just kind of forfeiting at the end of the games. Now, when it comes to forfeiting, like a really bad decision. If you look at week 2 against the Redskins, he had a terrible, terrible read at the beginning. He just threw it into double coverage, and it basically just sealed the game. And it was really, really early on into their last drive of the game, like really early on. I want to say it was their first or maybe second play. And when it comes to this, Goff obviously has something there, but he really reminds me of Matt Wright, a quarterback I've been very critical on. Clicking the link in the description. And obviously, Goff needs the firepower around him. And when I just look at it, I just feel as if Goff is just kind of this guy. He's going to be a good quarterback one day. However, is he going to be the savior to bring the Rams to the Super Bowl? To be honest, I really, really don't know. The greatest show on surf, as Chris Collinson was at it. I'm not exactly sold on it simply because of the competition that they face. If they go up against Seattle and drop 28 points, I'm definitely going to be listening more, and I definitely think that's a jumping point to go on. Now, next point is Todd Gurley. Now, Todd Gurley, obviously, he had a lot of touchdowns last night. Yeah, but there's a lot of 2-yard touchdowns. Is that really, really that impressive? It's just kind of just falling over. To be honest, getting those 2-yard touchdowns is not very hard to do. And it's not really hard to find those guys. Obviously, LeGarrette Blount. LeGarrette Blount was on the free agent market until May of this year. And this guy got 18 touchdowns in one season. I think he broke a franchise record. And not only that, he broke a franchise record. He led the league in it. So when you put that together, he really, really wasn't really signed until later on. This guy made the top 100 too, so it's not really hard to find that. And I look at Gurley. Gurley's not really impressing me with the yards per carry. Now, the offensive line does need some work in St. Louis, or LA as it is now, but you look at that, and that's a slight concern. But obviously, Todd Gurley has some passing game potential right there. I think he definitely had some value. However, he had some wide open catches here and there. And to be honest, Todd Gurley, he had a good night last night. Don't get me wrong; it was a very, very good night. But he's definitely going to slow down at the later on in the season. He definitely has something there. He's definitely talented. And I just look at that and think to myself, maybe the yards per carry for him should be a little bit more up. And I think that's definitely something that can definitely improve. Now, I also look at it, I think the Rams receivers, obviously, like Sammy Watkins, I thought had a pretty good night and all of that, but it really, you saw a bunch of wide receivers just go out there and truly go on it. Sammy Watkins, to be honest, I'm still kind of looking at him. I don't really see him as the route runner like he was emerging out of college because he just doesn't seem like that. As a catcher, I think he definitely has good hands. He definitely has ability. I definitely see that. But him to be a true number one, I just still kind of, he has the ability, but I just don't see it just yet, just to kind of carry this team. And Tavon Austin, I really didn't see much of. Cooper Kupp, he's one of these big guys that a lot of people are highlighting. So really, a lot of receivers just ate up on a bad secondary. And I'm just going to wait on Watkins because Watkins is one of these guys. He has talent. He has potential. I get it why they wanted him on the team. And it's a good trade for the Rams. However, it's just you're going up against not so good corners. And really, what did he do that was super impressive? What did he do that was just so unbelievable impressive? There wasn't really that many moments. I think his most impressive moment was the lunge. I think that just shows fight, which I like to see that he can at least fight for it. But really, when it comes to his routes that he's runs, it's a lot of deep routes, a lot of go routes. Can you bring in some more variety into the game? And I think if Sammy Watkins can do that, then he can really, really shine. And also on our note is the Rams defense. The Rams have a good defense. If you look at the unit, if you look at that D line, that's probably like one of the best D lines in the league, if not the best D line. Is it the best front seven? No, the linebackers are still a little bit iffy, but having Mark Barron out there, Alex Ogletree, you have ability right there. And I also look at it that you have Tremaine Johnson. Tremaine Johnson is a number one corner in this league, I would say. I think he's someone there that you can really look at and you can rely on as a good corner. A safety play, obviously they lost TJ McDonald, but it's not terrible loss. But if you look at their defense, they got the personnel to succeed. But they gave up 39 points to Brian Hoyer. And listen, look, Carlos Hyde is a good running back. Pierre Garçon is a good receiver. 39 points, though? You got to be out of your mind. And listen, Sean McVay is taking this team into a good direction, bringing the offense. But later on in the future, what about their defense? 39 or 39 points to the 49ers. That's a lot of freaking points for a team that's not that talented at all on the offensive side of the ball, or any side of the ball, really. And to be honest, the game could have been a lot different if the 49ers actually made that extra point. I mean, Robbie Gould, who's considered to be one of the most accurate kickers of all time, he misses an extra point. So you just look at it, put them in a bad spot and all, and the game could have been much different. It went to OT because I think Jared Goff in that game, if you put him in OT, I don't think he's the same quarterback. I really, really don't. And I just look at this, and the Rams defense should be a lot better. It should be. You can't just go from Jeff Fisher and then Sean McVay. Obviously, you're going from two coaches who are total polar opposites, defensive-minded guy to an offensive-minded guy. But when you go into that direction, it just feels as if that you really forgot how to play defense. And I think that's just a big concern right there. And I think it's something that Sean McVay should look at. And also, it's not like they have a bad defensive coordinator. They had Wade Phillips. He constructed the 2015 Denver Broncos. So that's on Wade Phillips because Wade Phillips knows he has the talent. And so I just feel as if the Rams should do better defensively. Now let's talk more about the positives. Now, when it comes to the Rams, obviously their offense is getting to the right direction. Good job. Receivers all participated last night. I think they all did a good job. I thought Todd Gurley, I really, really loved him in the goal line. I just really love his vision, his anticipation. Doesn't like the run, improvises, cuts out, goes up into the end zone for a touchdown. I really like that because he really trusted his ability right there, and he really succeeded. Jared Goff looked good. Obviously, Jared Goff played a Jared Goff kind of game. It was a great game plan offensively by Sean McVay. I was really, really impressed by that. Sammy Watkins looks like he's found a new home, and he looks like he can be a 1,000-yard receiver right there in LA, not St. Louis, LA. Tavon Austin obviously didn't show much, but then you have Cooper Kupp stepping up, and so you definitely saw a lot right there. And I think that when you have the big turnover on the game, I think that's definitely good and all that. And so the Rams, they defensively, they had some turnovers. Like I crapped on them when it came to the points, but they still deliver when it comes to turning over the football, which is helpful because then you just give it to their offense, and their offense is definitely what's the Rams best at right now. They're not best on defense anymore. It looks like their best thing is the offensive side of the ball, just throwing the ball. And when I look at it, Todd Gurley participated in the passing game and the running game, and I think that's just a future of a lot of running backs in this league. If you look at some of the star running backs in the league, they're not really these Adrian Peterson kind of esque running backs. If you look at it, it's David Johnson. He's a pass catcher who can also run the ball. You got Le'Veon Bell, who's a pass catcher who can run the ball. And if you look at Melvin Gordon, pass catcher who can run the ball. Jordan Howard, pass catcher who can run the ball. If you look at Todd Gurley, he's a pass catcher that can run the ball. If you look at it, you have to have that pass catching ability. And really, if you look at a guy like Peterson, those Peterson running backs are not going to really be there anymore. And hell, even Elliott can be a good receiver and take a ball to the house and all that through just catching the ball. So that's what brings about Todd Gurley, and I think it's definitely good. And the O-line play definitely looked improved. Obviously, having Andrew Whitworth there is a huge, huge upgrade. He's a little bit on the older side, however, he still did good last night. And even when losing their starting center, I believe his name was John Sullivan. I want to say very, very common name. So if I messed up that name, whatever. But you put that in perspective. Rams are progressing in the right direction. And this definitely looks like going to be a product for them, and it looks like you're going to see something in the future. It looks like your young guns are really, really starting to produce. Now, let's talk about the 49ers. Now, let's get the positives out of the way. I thought Kyle Shanahan did a good job. Obviously, it's kind of hard to have Brian Hoyer out there throw for 39 points against any defense. Well, he successfully did last night, and it looked pretty good. And the 49ers freaking played last night. They did. For one of the least talented teams in the league, they really played. Carlos Hyde looked good. I thought there was a lot of good calls by Shanahan right here, and it looked good. And then you got Pierre Garçon. Pierre Garçon was one of these really underrated signings. Obviously, it was a sign that I didn't really report just because of the state of the 49ers. And I tend to highlight news that tends to be big, tends to be kind of interesting timing. So, for instance, Joe Hayden going to the Steelers, it isn't really major news. However, Joe Hayden goes to the Steelers, and it was right before week 1 of the regular season, so it made sense. That's a little bit of logic about how I do my signings and all that. I don't report every single one. Obviously, I would basically just be in this room right now, just making videos nonstop and having no life. And if you look at that, Garçon was one of these underrated signings. It was really nice to see him as when it came to his ability to catch the ball. He had 81 chances to catch the ball. He only dropped one, so he caught 80 of those. And he looked good last night. He really wanted to play. And I just thought when I look at Garçon, it looked good. I definitely did. I thought it definitely looked good out there. And he definitely is a legit #1 receiver. I really do believe that. I think he is. He's really one of the more underrated receivers in the league. It looks like they found something right there. And then you got this Trent Taylor guy who looked good. Obviously, a lot of people compare him to Edelman. Well, really, any white guy who plays wide receiver that's under 6 feet tall that's going to be compared to Edelman. There's no other way to really put that right there. And then that's something that really looked right there. And then I thought that Hoyer, who is really a backup quarterback. Obviously, he's been a starting quarterback for the past 3 or 4 seasons. Obviously, he's been on the Texans, he's been on the Bears, he's been on the Niners. He's really a backup quarterback. However, they have him out there starting, but he looked good. He looked like he was on point. I thought that looked good, and I really, really loved the moment where the Rams looked like they're going to get a good return off. Bam, gets hit by a safety, forces a fumble, gets the ball and all that, and it looked really, really good out there. And they got it in really good field position, and it looked like the 49ers were freaking fighting out there. And that's what I look at. I think that's definitely something to be good. Now, let's talk about the negatives. Robbie Gould, for the guy who's considered to be the most accurate kicker in one of the NFL history, one of the most accurate kickers or something ridiculous. You miss an extra point. And he's not in some sort of weather-beaten stadium. This is California, people. California. Well, sometimes like if you get a storm, it'll be severe weather, but usually if it's not the best day in the world, you're probably going to have good weather. It might be a little bit chilly, but California has really, really nice weather, and this guy messed it up, and this guy's considered one of the great kickers of all time. I mean, this is a guy that Bill Belichick was talking about how he regret not signing or not keeping on his roster. There's one player that he regretted for releasing. It was Robbie Gould. Figures it happens to be Robbie Gould, and this guy he misses an extra point. And you're saying, well, it's really 1 point, they lost by 2 points. Well, first things first, he made that extra point, then they didn't have to go for two, made their life so much more simpler and all of that. And speaking for that 2-point conversion on a must needed down, why the hell are you giving it to Trent Taylor? Now Trent Taylor had a good night, but if you just kind of put this in perspective. You give the ball to one of your most reliable, most dependable guys, aka your best player in my mind, if he's your most dependable person. Why aren't you using Garcon? Garcon's perfect. Obviously, it's obvious where he's going to go, but if you put him in like a goal line defense, if it's going back, it's one-on-one coverage. And sure, it's Jermaine Johnson, but Pierre Garcon looked damn good last night. And listen, look, the Trent Taylor play was not a terrible design play. The only issue about it was a lot of people thought when he did that, they thought he was going to be an out route. He's like, oh, if he kept running, easy 2-point conversion. You're talking about maybe the 49ers winning this game. Obviously, as you can tell, I really wanted the 49ers to win this game. But if he did that out route, he could have got right there. And instead, Trent Taylor kind of turns around back and goes for it. And it was an interesting play call. And I just thought you should give it to Pierre Garcon. If you look at it throughout NFL teams, who are they giving to in like the big moments of the game? They're giving it to some of their best players to score. And Trent Taylor did have a good night. However, like it's Trent Taylor. This guy's a rookie. He's not really been known, and he hasn't even been in facility for a while. If you want to compare it to someone, let's just compare some of the game-winning kind of plays in the past years and all that. Like Julian Edelman made that great catch in the Super Bowl, and obviously he's the New England Patriots' #1 receiver. And if you go to the 2014, obviously they gave it to Julian Edelman. And 2012, you're looking at a team that was really relying on Anquan Boldin or clutch moments, or really did that in 2011. I think I said 2011 twice. Sorry, I meant 2012 for the Ravens. But in 2011, you're talking about giving the ball to Eli Manning and then simply just that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. Give it to your best players or give it to your guys that you can really rely on. Trent Taylor, I don't know why Kyle Shanahan had a lot of trust in him. Maybe they do like him. I just feel as if, like in those big moments, you should give it to some of your most dependable players. And I think that's definitely something that you should look at. Also, the 49ers. The 49ers offensive line, it's interesting. They've been under Chip Kelly. They're definitely drafting a new offensive lineman. They still have Joe Staley. But if you put that in perspective, there's a lot of times where just a bad sack early in the game that happened late on in the game and all that looked bad. And it's just this offensive line for the 49ers should be better because the talent is there. I know Joe Staley is getting up there, but the talent is clearly there with the 49ers O-line, and they're just simply not producing. And there's just a lot of things right there where if you have the talent, they should keep on stepping in the right direction. Also, the front seven for the 49ers, everyone except for Navarro Bowman had a bad night. I just thought that you should be eating up the Rams O-line. Now, I know the Rams have Andrew Whitworth, who's a quality left tackle. However, who else besides Andrew Whitworth do they have? They had a backup center in there for like half the game. So if you put that in perspective, you should have 3 other guys having no problem going up there. And you're talking about Solomon Thomas, who didn't have a terrible night. He had a nice tackle right there, but should have gotten more pressures and all that. They should have just kept on doing it. You got talent there. DeForest Buckner is a gifted athlete. the front seven for the 49ers isn't as bad. A lot of people, they might not be super big names. Obviously, Solomon Thomas wasn't one of these top guys in this draft where people are like, oh, it's Solomon Thomas. Obviously, a lot of people thought he was going to be drafted high, but a lot of people just don't care about the run stuffing defensive end or something. And to be honest, I'm like railing on him for pass rusher, but he's a run stuffer. Yes, but you want to make him to progress in this direction. You want him to eat up. And the fact that Andrew Whitworth, that's really their only offensive lineman, really didn't do it out there. And also with the 49ers, O-line, I just want to get it. Like Trent Boone, who I think Trent Boone is his name, or Trent Brown, that's his name. He's a right tackle, one of the best right tackles in the league. On one of the final plays in the half, he just walks right past them. Like just dumb little things. And that's just a lot of improvement where players that should be good should be playing better. It's not like I'm nailing these scrubs who were drafted in the 6th round that they have starting out there because he had an okay preseason and you know he's going to be off the team in 1 or 2 seasons. These aren't like that's not it. DeForest Buckner is a player that they're looking to develop. Solomon Thomas is a player that's looking to develop. Trent Brown looks like a player that he's going to emerge. He's one of the best right tackles in the league. That's what I'm saying. He should emerge. And I think I'm going to top it off with the 49ers secondary. The 49ers secondary sucked. It just sucked. There's a lot of bad calls, a lot of bad pass interferences that they made and all that. It just felt useless. And they just couldn't cover. They made so many penalties, so many mistakes, and all. Just a non-disciplined unit. They just didn't know what they were doing out there. There's no veteran experience out there. And if I'm the 49ers, if I'm John Lynch out there, I'm thinking to myself, you're talking about bringing a veteran cornerback in the future, maybe. Just bringing a guy that can at least just tell them how to play NFL cornerback, because it looks like they clearly don't. They have a safety getting converted to corner converted to say whatever it is, and Ward, whatever his role is. But they're trying to do that, and they need to progress in that direction. But overall, it was a fun offensive night. Let me leave your comments down below and what you thought about the game. Obviously, I thought that both teams looks like they have a bright future. Even though I did crap on them more than I gave positive thoughts, I obviously was a much more negative about, much more glass half empty, as you can tell when it comes to this. However, it's a positive night for both teams. You had 2 young offensive coordinators, something that maybe they have something here, but it looks like both teams are going into the right direction. So, all right, guys, I'll see you guys next time. Peace.